Devin, Townsend, Empath. Let me see if I can fix this a little bit. And hope it stays. Good enough. Alright. Had a little issue there. Oh, and this is my Devi fish. Alright, now we're done with that part. Now I'm finally digging in. I can't say I fully got invested with the lyrics, but you don't exactly have to enjoy this at all. You can. Probably be even better. But holy shit. And in concept, I think it was more the aspects of certain things about, because it's essentially him bringing everything to the table with this record, to the point of spending literally a total of his own money, which was $170,000. That's like a fucking mansion, if anything. Devin Townsend's been... This is technically his 9th solo studio record. 30-something if you include everything, even including strapping. Which I have yet to fully dive into. All I know is Love off of Alien. Maybe something else, but mostly Love off of Alien. That's pretty heavy stuff. And, if you like that, Hear Me, and the There Be Not Monsters, a portion of Singularity. Well, we'll get you going if you want your moshing. And Hear Me is definitely heavy, and apparently is the track that Kroger did background on. I mean, there is a portion where I guess you could kind of catch it, but it's buried. Kind of funny, given that, he's the one who told him to turn up his vocals, and I guess he kind of does. And comparing it from where he left off from Transcendence, which was the apparent last project under the DTP label, which is the longest running thing outside of his work with strapping. This album is fuck yes. Fuck yes. I don't see anything until Tool or something. Anything I have enjoyed a lot. I'll still recommend the Demon Hunter records, the albums that came out. Those are pleasant surprise a couple weeks ago. And then, of course, you also have your the Gary Clark Jr. record. I mean, there's other things, but I'm gonna say it. This is the album you should go get. It may be somewhat of an acquired taste, but this is beginner's taste Devin Townsend, because it gives you a lot of everything. And this one he wanted to create something all-encompassing. Somebody dropped a... Anyway. Nothing. Somebody dropped their glass. Anyway. On the ground, don't know who, but they're going to be missing some glass. I'm going to have to get that lost and found. I'm done here. Alright. And this is the album here. This is deluxe edition, apparently. And that's Davey. That's apparently his guitar with his hat and his nice little Hawaiian shirt, apparently. I don't remember what SIG that is, but which one of the SIGs. And if that's the one with the Evertune bridge. And not sure which pickups here. I'm going to say they're humbuckers, more than likely. But it doesn't say... It doesn't say Fishman. Because he's been using Fishmans a lot lately. But anyway. I want to say something already. Second disc, Test of Manhood. I mean, it starts off fine with Contrarian. But to me, I guess kind of it's more Gulag and Middle-Aged Man that are kind of the tracks for me that are are among the ones that actually stand out of the second disc, the bonus disc. And when the bonus disc can't even live up to the actual album with how good it actually is yeah, that should tell you something. And he really wants you to love and be loved. Ain't that sweet? And just look at all this. Look at all this pretty. Look at all the pretty colors and no other stuff. It just. And technically, if you go from here, this is technically the actual album cover for like the normal edition, which I think is a lot nicer. But you still kind of get it, I guess, here. So I have nothing to complain. Even with the lyrics, I mean, it's even just worth getting the album just for all this good stuff. Just look at the pretty artwork. It's so nice. Even when it's darkest, it's nice. Woo, fire. It's like the many things that go on in this man's mind. Really showed in this artwork. Even the elephants. Not sure. Wonder if that's what happened to Dumble's mom in the actual movie. Oh. Oh, so Nolly was just mixing the record. Totally makes even more sense. Yeah, I put a lot more effort into doing that than actually getting involved in. I've yet to fully dive in and hear the rest of the record, which apparently kind of came out on the YouTubes before the actual album had come out, like a week in advance. Like the band themselves or something leaked it. Like periphery-wise. We'll get to that when I get to the actual album, which should be coming out then, and I'll probably already be listening to it before I even hear the album. So it's supposed to physically come out, I guess, by the time of next week's. But there will probably be other people already talking about that record before I get to. So, yeah, this is just awesome. Awesome. And it's kind of funny because, like the last record, look at that. That's so. Jeez. The dolphin and everything. Anyway. Sorry on the ranting thing, but yes, for this album, I think he was kind of going where certain creatures, good and evil, the more monsters, and then other form of creatures or humans itself, I guess, are sort of human-esque type beings or something kind of live. This is almost him sonically playing God and all this other stuff, but, or at least trying to get in the mindset of God, I guess, in a way. Of how he created things and everything, it seems. And Genesis does come off in that way. And that music video really does encompass a lot of those more sonic textures, which is, there's a lot of things. Devin's just, if I can best describe it, which most people can't, but that all depends on if you've heard albums for like the self-titled Mr. Bungle, maybe even going as far as to that entire discography, maybe some of the other Mike Patton-ish stuff, more so the Angel Dust and then the album that followed Angel Dust that I can't remember the name of for some reason. I don't understand it, because I did like that album actually. Forgive me, and if you tell in the comments below, please, that'd be obliged. But also, more so, some Anima Lateralis thing with Tool, and then throwing in there for good measure on top of pretty much, yeah, I think I already did say everything there. But dude, this album overall, just going off the Castaway, which for the most part, the music video for Genesis, by the way, already kind of has Castaway from the part where they get into the weird Hawaiian islandy kind of thing, music type of thing, which I guess is more bossa nova or something-ish. And then, of course, that portion that leads into the vocals and then cuts into what we all know of the actual track, that is Genesis, and the more build up, the heavier stuff, and then and that's really where a lot of the more musical layers really come into play, and you hear a lot of weird things, experimenting with things like cat noises and a portion of that, and then where it's with the islandy stuff, and then before going into a pitch harmonic, almost as if to suggest having slaughtered the calf in a very death metal grindcore kind of thing, even though I'm not a grindcore guy. Something here worked, I'd say more tech deathy, if anything. Nothing. It's portions of that, and then the moments of that I will say on that music video for Genesis. The moment we did Genesis, there was a missed opportunity for the SpongeBob meme. Genesis. Spirits Will Collide was like was the recent single that they actually released a video for, right when the album had come out a few days ago. And Evermore, they did a cat thing that was weird, but it's Devin at this point. Makes absolute sense with all of them. And weirdly, at the Spirits Collide one, you have like I guess a CGI, or if not a sort of mannequin, or I don't doubt it's a real gorilla, but it's possible someone in a suit, CGI, or both of those, playing the bass, like just hitting Indian style playing bass on what may be a cloud or some weird disc thing. It was funny as hell. Guy looked like he played bass better than the guy I had in my band, but slightly a shot, slightly backhanded compliment, but yeah. And he really wants to just be all-encompassing as opposed to cacophonous. Some people will probably argue that it is with Hear Me, or the heavier stuff of Hear Me, or There Be Monsters portion of Singularity, which is a 22-minute thing. Like, we're talking like 2112 levels of like long and expanded thing, but in that good way where it works like that of 2112. And probably even better than, say, Tesseract's one thing that I keep forgetting the name of for some reason. I'm so blanking on that one. But it's, you know what I mean. But if you've know, when it comes to the first record, One, and the one song that wound up essentially being that EP prior to the album, but that I'm blanking on, and like for some reason I'm blanking. I don't know why, but yes, and it's a very, very fun. This album is fun. You're never going to get bored with this. It's a lot to take in, but it's all encompassing, not so much cacophonous, I like to say. So there are some times where I can see he does, but this time he really brings everything. This is life. He calls this album life metal, and life itself has both a very it can be beautiful, but it also can be brutal. And he definitely brings both of those. He does not sway away from either one. He gives you both. And he does maintain a bit better on something. Genesis really all encompasses everything, a lot of things sonically. He does Hawaii thing, and then does this weird disco, distorted guitar, high gain distorted guitar, infused disco, funk disco kind of track. I want to say disco, like funk metal, essentially, with some disco-ish elements here and there that work better than what disco technically was for the most part, and why there was a tire thing in a baseball field that led to essentially the death of that scene. Spirits Will Collide is a fun thing. He's one of the few artists that can do have choir moments in that same, like, almost Youth of the Nation kind of a way, or of some sort, and it not suck. Like, it feel natural, and come off cool for some reason. Evermore's interesting. It's whatever track. I mean, it's off kind of fine, but you could tell it's not the same as Genesis. But it was Spirits Will Collide that was interesting to me. Sprite follows. This is where things start to be where I kind of venture into unfamiliar, or most people who haven't caught up with singles and everything will start eventually venturing into unfamiliar territory with Sprite. And Sprite is fine, but after more repeated listens, it doesn't. I mean, it's still good, just doesn't pop up as much. But then Hear Me is where things start to change. With the latter half is when Hear Me hits, and it's the most brutal, strapping levels of brutal kind of a thing. It's maybe it's a little in your face, but it's still kind of all encompassing. It's not really cacophonous. Though for some reason people who just don't like this style are going to see it that way anyway, which sucks to have to, which I have that weird feeling about it for some people, but not me. I think this thing's awesome, as brutal as it is, and the fact that it still has its moments where, like, the cleaner, more feminine vocals of, if I can remember the chick's name. It's in here somewhere, dang it. Fuck, I'm not even sure. It's not telling me shit. Bummer. Wait a minute. Hold on, here we go. Aniek van Gergsberg, if I'm saying that right. Yeah, this is the only track that has Chad Kroeger on the vocals somehow, and he's there, but it's barely much of anything. You basically got to hear it. He's kind of buried, and the female vocals pop out more on it. And it's more the all lines of All the World is Bleeding, and, you know, the reasons why, all this. Like, that's enough to kind of just hearing those vocals are, and then of course eventually it comes it's more of like a symphonic tech death track, and it just, and it's definitely, if you're like into some moshing, it's one of those songs, man. Derby Monsters has some great grooves to it. It's really good. I mean, and then all of a sudden it kind of goes into why, and it just kind of goes into a jarring thing with why. And I think the shouted phrase of "Let me go home" is just like distorted growls, which he does use a lot in Hear Me. Like in this way that most people who hear hear Monster from Skillet. And I'm starting to wonder if Devin's probably done that before Skillet even did it with the version on the album, not so much the single radio version of that song. But yeah, it's very reminiscent of that kind of distorted growl that he does. And I don't know if those growls are actually Chad on it, but apparently Dev does bass on it. Interesting. Doesn't say anything about guitar though. That's weird. Not sure why. Unless it says it in the main. Yeah, it says it in the main thing of vocals, guitar, synth, bass. And yes, he says computer, but you know. I'm trying to remember where I heard the pedal steel. Unless the pedal steel is, yeah, the pedal steel does have the Hawaiian-ish thing that they do, aside from the more country-ish stuff that he used to do. And there are moments, I think, even on Genesis, that are very kind of in the softer elements that are somewhat reminiscent of Casualties of Cool. Or if not, and a lot of other elements maybe that are more... Why am I blanking? I hate when my brain does this. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I wanted this to be a better review, but I have to settle for this. Overall, Why is pretty good. But why? Borderlands is also interesting. It's not as much of an all-encompassing thing like Genesis is, and is as much coming at you sonically in terms of just different ideas thrown at you. It does happen a moment where you do hear some nice little air horns and whatnot. Requiem, but why itself feels very much a it's like Broadway musical, like, but Disney kind of musical. More off-Broadway than I would say actual Broadway, but it's very much a musical track. in more of a Disney, like in that goofier Disney kind of a way. Like, your Never Had a Friend Like Me's, your the Gaston musical number in Beauty and the Beast that also got that you could even compare even more so to the Deadpool parody, which has a more of a feel of. It's kind of sort of in that vein. It's not your, I could show you the worlds. I mean, a whole new worlds and all those things. Those are like the bigger ones. And then you have your Hakuna Matata and your Hakuna Matata's kind of up there though, but it's one of those kind of sort of fun but goofier kind of thing. Like, think those type of tracks of musicals that are like sort of goofy but fun, and that's what you get out of Why. And if you're into those kind of goofier, lesser known compared to some bigger known Disney musical numbers, so that's what I get out of Why. It has that kind of a feel to it. Borderlands is pretty good. Requiem definitely feels like he's just prepping to do some kind of a score, like another John Williams-ish score thing. Maybe throw in a little Danny Elfman, maybe. Well, it's clearly more John Williams influences, but it's possible he might have started listening to a little bit of Danny Elfman and whoever the heck winds up working on Tim Burton's kind of thing here and there. And of course you get to Singularity is with Adrift is the softer one. I Am is where it gets kind of heavy, but it doesn't really goes all out with There Be Monsters, and then it sort of lets go a little bit with Curious Gods. Silicon Scientists come in, and then Curious Gods does get a little jazzy in places. Here Comes the Sun, which is not a Beatles cover. I almost thought that at first, but I wasn't sure. And then you hear it, it's not. But it is a good closer. It's a little abrupt, but I still like it. It's still good. And then a lot of the songs here, I mean, the demos, sure, you can get the Disc 2 Testament here, like I've already said earlier in this review. It's fine. I think Gulag and Middle-Aged Men are a lot more fun, or the most fun you'll have on the record, on that bonus disc. You can still check out the others. Maybe you'll find something, but I don't expect anything that's as good as what you actually got on the actual album Empath. So if you don't have the bonus discs, don't worry about it. But unless you want it for like collector's purposes, then go ahead. It really focuses on just. He really spent a lot of money. The real question is, Chad Kroeger, whether it was on Chad Kroeger for doing background vocals, or which one cost more, because I know Chad had to have been costly a little bit. If not, then, wow, whatever Avril did to you, man. I mean, you've been doing some very interesting, good things between the last album you chose to do, and which some people haven't really been, but I don't understand it. I think it's a better album in a long time from that group, even if it's not too far off from Dark Horse. Hell, it's a better Dark Horse. But anyway, but since then, it's all of a sudden, the fact he's working with Devin, I mean, how that came about was interesting too. Just look up all the stuff on his, if you want more details that I can't seem to give proper. It's just, look it up. Just seriously, look up all the stuff from that on Devin's YouTube page, where with the documentary series thing, where he's kind of doing conversations there with this one guy that I'm guessing is producer Mike Neely, and they're just kind of talking things out on how he wants the process to do, since he's such a perfectionist, and he spent a lot of money and he's thinking about quitting after this if this doesn't go over well, which I'm serious. This album not only rocks, I personally think it's masterclass. I kind of understand if people are just saying great, because there are other more masterclass albums, but if this is how you go out, if wind up going out on, what a way to go out. What a way to go out, dude. I don't want that to be the case, because I want more of this. I want more of this. A lot of this. But I'd like you to be able to afford to do it. You know? If you can't, I hope someone asks you to do film scores and stuff, because there's plenty of that going on here, man. I mean, or, you know, or do more producing jobs, you know? And then getting Nolly to come mix for you again for those jobs or something, dude. Just Devin. I'm happy for you, but I'm also mad at the rest of the world because even the members of Periphery are saying, just off a Genesis reaction video they did alone, they can't, not even anything off their new album is better than what that track was. And everything else has been amazing on this thing. I'm just floored here, man. That I didn't know if you could top Transcendence, as I'm still listening to that thing. Even, not just even the bonus tracks, like, wow. Just, this album pretty much brings the balance. It is truly life metal, for sure. Totally worth checking out. I'm serious. It's me, acquired taste or not, at least give this album one listen. And if you're not hooked on it, then I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. But if you think it's worth someone else's time, give that, like, pass this on. Pay it forward with this. But make sure, you know, when you do, make sure Devin's getting his money's worth here, because he deserves it. He fucking deserves it. Man. I mean, I'm already hearing 8s out of 10s, 4 out of 5s, but I'm willing to do 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. I got 5 on it. Yes. No, I have not seen the movie. I'm not sure I will be. I'm not a horror guy, but I'll give Jordan Peele his credit. But anyway, that's another thing. Referencing Jordan Peele in a Devin Townsend album review. Who knew? But yes. Genesis. Actually, Empath. Why am I saying Genesis? Anyway, both embarrassing but still fun. I don't care. I love this. I love this thing. It's worth everything I'm mouthing off. Just, what did you guys think of Empath? Please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to actually talk a little more about this thing with y'all. That I haven't already probably done with some other comment sections and other reviewers. But yeah, what did you think of this album of the year material? As much as I am, to the point where I'm not even sure the new Tool record's even gonna live up to this thing, or Deftones, or Mastodon, or any other album band. It's Periphery and Allegon, and I'm literally not expecting anything to top this at this point. Which is why I'm going to be, everything else is just going to be a kind of a pleasant surprise if it does. But I'm not expecting it. I'm not going to expect it. I'm not even bothered to expect it. This is the album. What did you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. Rock that like button on this video with thrust if you must. Hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. It helps if you want to keep up with this stuff, if you can. Also, do the same in liking and following my Facebook page, which should be, the link should still be in the description below. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I will see you in whatever the next video may be, possibly Shazam and P4. And as usual, Schmodown rocks. But other than that, that's about it. And, yeah. Take care, y'all.